Let's make a plague eldritch base for your tabletop games using trash, bits, recyclables, and pistachio shells. Let's hook our brushes around that.
Alright, let's just hop right into it. So, how did I get here? How did this happen? Well, it kind of became part of my impatience. Because the base that I used was meant to be for Plague Knight. And I took my heat gun with some Martian earth that I was putting on there to try to hurry up and dry to crackle, and it, well, melted because I got a little too close, had a little too hot. And in my disparity of it all, I just kind of threw it to the side, and I just so happened to be eating some pistachio shells. Trying to think, well, what do I do? What do I do next? And I looked at a couple of my pistachio shells as I was just throwing them aside, and I thought, what if I can salvage this? So my brain began to wonder, and inspiration just struck me out of nowhere. And then it kind of all came together as I grabbed the base out of my trash bin and started putting things together. And one thing just kind of led to another. And it just kept building and building. And then I decided, well, let's put this together. Let's stop talking about it. Let's stop thinking about this and let the inspiration run wild before we lose it. Let's start building it. And then from there, when I was, going about my building, after I kind of took some expirational dated sprue goo, I just slathered that on, some trash that I should probably throw it away a long time ago, but I'm glad I kept it. And then from there, I just did a simple menthol highlight, a little bit of matte black AK surface primer, and just some Vallejo basic white with some airbrush thinner to thin it down a bit. And then just carried on from there like I would naturally with any painting. I wanted a good base coat because while I was doing this, I was thinking like how I want to paint it, what colors do I want. So I just went with, well, what looks ooey and gooey, and my brain kind of went towards a pale magenta. Then it kind of shifted gears, and I started to lay down a bit more purples, like Purple Witch, as a glaze, because at this time I was still trying to figure it out, but slowly I was approaching skin tones. And with skin tones, I wanted it to feel bruised and unnatural and alien still. So keeping that in mind, I went ahead and threw down some of my favorite purples and did a quick glaze inside the actual quote-unquote eggs that I've created, and a little bit around the base. And once that dried, I started bringing up my flesh tones and started, picking out certain spots like outside of the egg and on the actual ground that they sit on. Some type of lore or eldritch creature or Tyriad came and, grabbed a hold of some poor soul and started, using their flesh to incubate and make their eggs. I can go very deep into this. I'm all about lore. But let's get out of that and go more about the painting of the actual base here. So I threw down some Scale 75 Indian Shadow, kind of following the basis of my bruised skin, because once you put that down a little bit thinner, the purples and magentas will kind of come through that, because beneath the Caucasian skin there is blood, there's movement, there's flow and light and many other things. And once I kind of got that down, I went ahead and moved into some base flesh from my Nocturna Fantasy Pro set, and just started layering on a couple of bits here and there, because I knew once that dried, that magenta and purple and Indian reddish brown was going to show in a couple places. And then from there, I just kind of kept building up my flesh tones for the bruised flesh. Took the brush that I had, because I'm a one brush at a time kind of guy, because I'm a maniac, and I decided to get out a very decent mid-tone flesh, and from there I used a natural flesh. And I did thin it down, but as I was thinning it down, I wicked off a lot more than usual and kind of layered it on, but at the same time dry brushed in a way to where I had barely any more paint left onto my brush and just kind of hit those high spots with it. I really don't know what was happening when I did this. It just kind of became a haze to me. But from there, I wanted to, give it a little bit more blood flow, and that's when I moved to my reddish flesh, following the same Nocturna Pro set. And I wanted to, again, move more blood and vessel into that. Before I came back and showed the next shot, I did grab my magenta and I thinned it down just very little, and kind of glazed over a couple spots that I felt was a little too fleshy. I kind of wanted to bring more blood upflow. The hatchlings of whatever these creatures are just hatched, maybe, according to the lore. But I want to bring that back, and that's when I brought out my white flesh tone fairy flesh and started to pick out a couple of highlights here and there. And as I was painting them, as you can see, I was kind of focusing here and there, but at the same time I felt like it wasn't doing it for me. At least that's how I was feeling. But I kept moving on past it and finished, and then after I was done looking at it, I believe it worked out very, very well. And I really do hope that this build, this does inspire all of you to just look around and see what you have in your hobby room or outside and pick something up and start making something out of nothing, as some would say. Or have in mind that not all failures you do are complete failures. You can always use that as something else, whether it's for a plague base. Either way, you can take something that is a mistake and turn it into something that's pretty epic. Thanks for dropping by the guild. I'll see you around next time. Oh, hey. Welcome back. Thank you all so much for staying and watching to the very end. It really does mean a lot to me. You can, go down there and smash or hit or like the like button. And then, subscribe to the channel. And when you do, you can hit the notification bell to let you know as soon as possible my videos are coming out for you. So you can share with your friends as soon as possible. We can always use more adventurers here with the guild. Hope to see you back here. Back to painting.